Hello, folks, and welcome to Transformed by Birth, a podcast about the rite of passage through pregnancy, birth, and new parenthood. I'm your host, Britta Bushnell, author, mythologist, childbirth educator, and an emotional deep diver with a side of goofball. I'm so glad you're here. Today's episode gives us a personal view into the experience of one birthing papa. Grab a cup of tea or take us along for a walk or a drive and join us as we expand the conversation about birth beyond the gender binary. Before we go there, let's light our candle. If you want to join me, please do so, or just take a special breath as I light mine. Today's candle is to send a little extra energy and light to the trans community who are navigating so much difficulty in today's society. The idea of the gender binary shows up hard and rigidly in the birth world. Using terms like birthing parent and birthing person tends to unleash a slew of folks pounding their fists in the air and chanting, "Only women give birth." And while a uterus is required to gestate a baby, those with a uterus can exist all along the gender spectrum. Depending on your lived experience, you may have only interacted with or known pregnant people who identify as women, which can reinforce the idea that those are the only ones who give birth. Perhaps what we need in the world is more exposure to birthing beyond the gender binary. This is one of the reasons I'm so grateful to have today's guest here with us. Herbie Huff is a trans dad, non-binary gender adventurer. I love that, by the way. Alumni of twin pregnancy, papa of 3, soon to be 4 children, a Los Angeles native raising his family in LA, and an amateur lover of all things gestation and birth. Herbie, thank you so much for being here and sharing some of your journey as a birthing papa. Welcome.
Thank you.
It's really wonderful to have you. So before we get too deep into the conversation, I want to say that probably like a lot of people listening, I'm very aware that while I'm actively engaged in learning and deepening and expanding my understanding of gender binary and the gender spectrum and things of that sort, I'm definitely still expanding my gender literacy. And as such, I'm going to stumble. So please correct me at any point in this conversation. I don't want the desire to be perfect to get in the way of growth and learning, because I often see that happens. So to start off, is there anything so far that you want to correct me on in anything that I've said?
Not yet.
Okay, thank you. So what I was thinking where we'd start is if you could kind of introduce us to your journey and your family building process. Where are you and how did you get there?
Okay, yeah, sure. So, I have 3 kids. My oldest is 7, and I have 5-year-old twins.
They're 5 years old already?
Yeah, they're 5 years old.
Oh my gosh, how did that happen?
Yeah. Um, yeah, it's wild. The pandemic like also really made the passage of time like extra weird, I think.
Yes,
But
it did.
yeah, so I am married. I married my wife in 2015, and we knew we wanted to have kids. That's even another longer story. But maybe just the one thing that's worth noting is like as a queer person, I didn't think I was gonna have kids. So that was really like sort of later in our relationship that she had to kind of convince me, like, we can do that and I want to do that. And
So she came in knowing she wanted kids and you came in not knowing you wanted kids?
I didn't want kids.
Didn't want
Um,
kids. Okay.
yeah, which is like now I'm gonna have 4 kids, so like I think like you can really grow and change in this life in unexpected ways. But I think I had um like a little bit out of like anger and like sort of like vengeance that was only being enacted on myself, but like because I went through like coming out as queer as a young person and feeling like I was kind of cast out of society.
Hmm.
Um, like I grew up in a Catholic family. I'm 40, so I grew up in the 90s. I didn't see like that there was a future where I could have kids when I
Mm.
initially came out. It just felt like those were like that was like a simple equation. Like if you are queer, you go like do queer things with queer people in queer cities and
And that path doesn't include, it feels like the game of life, right? Where if like,
yeah,
if
like you
you're
don't have
queer,
a
you take
family.
that path. Okay. That
And
was
and
part of
like the
what was happening.
legal support didn't exist for it
Mm,
either. Like
right.
I mean, when I came out, there was gay marriage in like two states. There was not federal gay marriage. Like I came out in probably 2001, and there
Hmm.
wasn't federal gay marriage till 2015.
Yeah.
So it's just a long way of saying like I just feel like maybe the lens of like people thinking like this is what my adulthood is going to look like and I'm going to have a family and I'm going to be a parent. Like I spent like a lot of my adulthood like not having that. And um I really just decided to do it because like I love my partner so much and she was kind of like clear that she wanted to do it.
Hmm.
Um so we had our first kid in 2018 and we at that time were like let's have 2 to 3 kids and Shannon will carry all the pregnancies
Right.
because I just had no interest in it. I couldn't even really conceive of myself as like someone that could do that. Like so throughout the process of like having our first, it was like I felt very comfortable being like the birth partner. If anything, I feel like it was kind of like a gender affirming experience for me.
Hmm.
Um, and I even like knew some like lesbian couples where like one partner like really had a lot of big feelings about like not carrying. And I really noticed like I don't have those. Like this feels like right for me. Like I'm like supporting this thing that Shannon's doing. And then when Remedy was born, it's like I'm supporting this like dyad between Shannon and Remedy. And like I felt really good in that role. And um one thing to maybe know is that like I went on testosterone like after my twins were born. So if you would have like seen me at that time, you would have thought like that I looked that I was a butch lesbian. Um, and so after our first was born, um, and even when Shannon was pregnant, people would say like, "Oh, so like when you're a mom, this or
To
like
you.
to me, yeah." Um, because like I was born female, I was in a female body, I would like have short hair, and I think like I always had a conception of myself as like gender queer or like sort of like essentially masculine, but
Hmm.
like what people were seeing was a female body. And I think they were like I think people who knew me and like kind of knew like how I expressed my gender would more have the question like are you gonna go by like mom, dad, like something else? And I was honestly like, I don't know. Like, we'll see.
Hmm.
Um, and
And
it
yet the process of being a partner to Shannon during her pregnancy actually you said was gender affirming for you in not gender affirming of being born female, gender affirming of
yeah,
what?
as
Yeah,
masculinity. Like,
right.
yeah, like I felt like women give birth and I'm not a woman and I'm
Mhm.
doing like the woman's partner's role.
Got it.
And like something it did feel like really right to me.
Hmm.
Um, like and yeah, around that whole time, like long story short, I was like, I think like I'm a dad. Like,
Mm.
and it was after her birth, like people would say to me, like, oh, like, how does it feel to be a mom? And I think that was like one of the first times in my life that like gendered language made me like, like,
Mhm.
and I would just really think like, I just don't think I'm a mom. Like,
That didn't land.
yeah. And
Mhm.
like, I really like was like, let me try it on, like I wasn't really sure until my oldest was born.
Mhm.
And then like, it just felt really clear to me, like, that I wanted to be like who I really was to her, like the gravity of that relationship with your own child.
Mm.
Like up to that point in my life, if someone had like walked into a room and I was in that room and they said like, "Hey, ladies," I would have thought in my head like, well, ladies plus me. But like I wasn't like having
You
a quick
just adjust it
reaction.
in your head.
I
Uh-huh.
would think in my head like, "Oh, I'm not a lady," but like whatever.
Okay. But then
But
after?
But then with this mom thing, I would think like, no, I'm not her mom. And like, that's actually like a pretty important thing for everyone to
Mm.
know. Like, this is like the most important thing that I'm doing in my life right now, like being
Mm.
my kid's parent. And I want like the language that people are using around it to be correct. And like, I want it to be correct, like once she eventually gets language, which, is coming like sooner than you think. So, yeah, it was right after she was born. I was like, I'm a papa. And I
Mm.
started telling everybody, like, I'm her papa. Um, and like people who knew me, like I said, like I had identified as like gender queer since I was like 23.
Mhm.
Um, and I was like 30, 33 or something when I had Rem. So it was like all my friends were like, yeah, obviously you're her papa. Like, I think all my like friends and family just had seen me as like a masculine person for many, many years and were like, this all makes sense. Um, so yeah, I became a papa like really through like my oldest birth.
Well,
Um,
so it sounds,
yeah,
let me just see if I'm grokking this. So the process of seeing yourself in relation to your child helped you really come to know who you were in in this in the gender spectrum.
yeah, 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 I think that's right. I think like I really had an understanding of myself as like a masculine or boyish or mannish person. Um, but it was like that relationship and the language for it, like
Mm.
it did sort of like shift me. Like I became more like sort of drawn into a closer like alignment with masculinity or something. And a more serious one too. Like I would say
Okay.
that like my masculinity to that point was very real. It was very like deep within me, but it was also like very playful.
Mm-hmm.
And this was different in that like it wasn't playful to me. Like I was like, this is very important.
Mm.
Very important to me that I like am using the language that really feels true and is true.
So
Uh,
what difference did that make to have that more serious, more feeling of importance to that have on your life and how you moved through the world? And I want to get to how you ended
yeah.
up then deciding to carry a
Yeah.
pregnancy as well. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's like it's a lot of story to tell because like really like two things truly happened at the same time and were on kind of like parallel tracks that interacted with each other and were both like very intense.
Okay.
And like one was okay, like I'm really a papa, I'm really a dad, and I'm in a female body. And like I'm now realizing that people I meet are not intuiting that I'm her papa.
Mm.
Um, and so like, what do I do with that?
Mm-hmm.
And like, long story short, it's like that was like the start of like a transgender transition journey for me. And then like at the same exact point in time, I was having this like really surprising like change, like shift in my own curiosity about actually carrying a pregnancy. Um, which like just had not ever occurred to me
Hmm.
through the whole pregnancy and even the immediate aftermath of the birth. My first reaction was like, that was horrifying. Like, frankly, I was like, that looked like so much work and so hard and so like metal and vicious. And I was just like so glad that it wasn't me. But then like also that was the most magical thing I've ever seen. Like
Mm.
ever. Like no contest. The birth of my
Yeah.
first was like the most out of this world cool magical thing I had ever seen. And like as that kind of like sunk in over time and the like that looked really hard and painful, like sort of like faded in memory, like I just like felt really curious and
As
was like,
the fading in memory as it does.
yeah, yeah. Um, and like
So
I had this baby. It's like then you have a baby. Like you created it's just like the most incredible act of creation
yeah.
that it felt like I could participate in as like a human and I have the parts for it.
Mm.
So it was like months into my first kid's life, like she was just a baby that I started saying to my partner like, what if I did do that? And like we were kind of like amused, like
Mhm.
because in no way had I ever wanted to. And in fact, like it was incredibly inconvenient. Like like a person who
You
is
had a
like,
plan.
yeah,
You
like
had a plan, and this was not the plan. Yeah.
no, yeah, exactly. It was like, oh, I was the person who like didn't even want to have kids and like wanted nothing to do with pregnancy and was like, this is your thing. Also, I'm like the person that is like, I'm really a papa and I like want everyone to know that. And like getting pregnant does not really help that situation. So it
Wow.
made
Yeah.
no sense on no plan on earth did it make sense, but like it made a ton of sense on the level of like I really am like a firm believer in like living a life where you will feel like sure that you don't have regrets at the end of it.
Hmm.
And it felt really clear to me like I think like if I don't do this, that like in 15 years I will still be curious about it and I will still be feeling like what if I did that?
Mm.
And because that felt really clear to me, it was kind of a no-brainer decision on that level, despite like all the other reasons not to do it.
Got it. Yeah. So then how was that experience for you to then you and Shannon decided to go that route and you got pregnant and not just with one,
Yeah. Yeah.
which adds a whole additional layer of um,
Yeah.
complexity, I would imagine, in part because um, in if there's a trying to be in a pregnant body while also in a masculine identity, and your body is now gestating two babies, it's going to get even larger
Yeah.
in the expression of pregnancy. So what was your journey like through pregnancy?
Yeah. It was a lot. It was a lot, like more than I bargained for. And more than we bargained for.
Mm-hmm.
Um, like I was pregnant So the twins and my older one are exactly 2 years apart.
Okay.
So we had like a 1 and change-year-old when we found out I was pregnant, and we're like, oh my gosh, like, we like kind of were, now I look back on it and I'm like, we were baby parents.
Yeah.
Like I feel like such a more seasoned parent now.
Because you are.
Yeah. I'm like, we didn't know anything, and we were like trying to figure out how are we going to make room in our life for two babies. Like, just that in of itself was a lot. But yeah, the twin aspect definitely made everything harder. Like, for sure, the gender stuff, I think, like, just, I think, like, maybe, and in fact, I know, like, masculine people that have carried pregnancies, like a singleton pregnancy, and not really had anyone, like, ever know.
Mm,
Like, they
right.
sort of just like wore baggy clothes, and people would be like, that's your regular beer belly.
Right.
And like, we're kind of under the radar in that way. Like,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, mine was clearly a pregnant belly. Um, there's just no mistaking it. And
Yeah.
it was very large. I mean, I would say like as a twin pregnancy, like I I was lucky in the sense that like you have this like higher risk for everything, and none of those things like ever happened to me, which I was very lucky to like not have gestational diabetes, not have like anemia, not have like a preterm birth. Like I sort of like objectively know that I had like some luck in that sense. And also like twin pregnancy is just really hard. Like I was just really heavy, and like I carried that pregnancy all the way to like 38 and change weeks. And
Oh, wow.
like the last probably like 7 or 8 weeks, like I was hardly mobile. I remember like walking to the end of my block and some days being like, that's it. Like I just have half a block. That's all I got today. Like,
Yeah.
so
And you were simultaneously parenting a toddler,
yeah.
which requires a certain amount of walking, whether you mean to or not.
Yes. Yeah. 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 Like, you're like wrestling your almost 2-year-old. Yeah.
Yeah.
So it was a
That's
lot. It was a crazy time. Yeah.
did you eh, experience care that was respectful and understanding? And if so, how did you find that?
Yeah, yeah, that's a cool question. I like wanted to talk about that, and I was like sort of trying to remember all of that. And okay, so yes, yeah, I had some rad care providers. I had um a queer midwife named Sarah Howard who kind of like helped me um find people, and she had helped me take my IUD out. And
Mm,
actually like she was, I mean, when I went to take my IUD out to try to get pregnant, her intake form was like, "What are your pronouns?" And I remember being like, "I don't know, like no one's ever asked me that." Like, I mean, because
wow.
that was in like
Okay.
2019. I
Yeah.
just really felt like, I don't know, like what are my pronouns? I was living a life where like everyone was using she, her for me, and in fact, like I had tried using gender neutral pronouns in like 2007, but it was just too hard. Like,
Mm, hmm.
and it was before like they them was even a conversation like at all, 2007, 2008. And it didn't work, and everyone I met was like never doing it right, and just felt like too much work for me. Like I didn't want to spend my life like telling people how to speak about me.
Hmm.
So I like put away gender neutral pronouns in 2008 and was like she, her all the way to 2019 kind of. And then I remember like having this conversation with Sarah Howard of like, I actually really do like it when people say he, him. And then her saying something like, I mean, what makes you feel good is probably like really good information.
What a great
And
response.
yeah,
What
and
a
that
great response. God, I love Sarah.
like that and that was like a fertility appointment. It wasn't like a
Yeah.
gender therapy. Like there was,
Yeah.
but it was like that. I mean, that's a good like moment to highlight for me, is like that was a good example of how like I was supposedly doing fertility but like I was also doing gender and they were like really happening at the same time.
Mm.
But yeah, Sarah is like a very inclusive queer midwife that helped me like navigate a lot of things, and she carried two twin pregnancies, so she was like just an awesome resource.
Yeah, so she also really understood that.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
And then I sort of like lucked into a great OB who was awesome and also like was very affirming. I had it in my chart at my OB's office that I was they them like at the time and that I was a papa. It was like top of you know, I think like what was great about my OB, her name was Audrey Maruzzi, was that she just kind of asked me, like, what do you care about? You know, and so I told her, like, what I care about is that I'm not a mom, I'm a papa. That's what I really care about. And then like they, them
Mm.
are my pronouns, and I kind of care about them. I don't know. I
Mhm.
still to this day
But
I'm
what
like,
really mattered to you
yeah,
was being a papa,
yeah,
and your care provider was able to hear and understand that.
yeah, yeah. And I think like people are all different. Like I'm sure there's people for whom their pronouns are extremely important.
Mhm.
And I've just like never been that attached.
Mhm.
Like I kind of like enjoy all pronouns. Um, yeah.
Yeah.
And then like I also did have, and it's like maybe harder to talk about, but I think like important to talk about. Like I also did have like an older doula that really struggled to understand me. And that like I probably should have broken up with, but I just like didn't have the bandwidth to find another one. But
Mhm.
like I like she just like couldn't stop saying like women do this, women do that. Um,
Mm. And I
and
would imagine that didn't really work for you, that part.
I mean, I would just be like, I'm not a woman. I don't know if you forgot. But like
Mhm.
I think it was just like, yeah, like in her brain, like everyone she had ever worked with was a woman, and everyone she would have ever had to talk to about these things was a woman. And it was just like, I think really hard for her to like shift that. Um, and like we even like went out to lunch, I remember, to like really try to be like, are we gonna work together? Like, is this working?
I remember you telling me about that
I
at the
honestly,
time.
you might like remember more about it too. Um,
I remember you telling me that, yeah, you went out to lunch to have a really respectful and engaged conversation to try, I mean, be really helpful and to get your needs met, which I think is an important piece of it is that you were really proactive in trying to get your needs met, and also remarkably understanding that the journey for folks can be clunky.
yeah, yeah. Um, yeah, like I don't think there was any ill intent.
Mhm.
I like if I could have like waved a magic wand and had someone that would like get me, I would have loved to do that.
Yeah,
But
I
like,
bet.
yeah, like I don't know. It's birth, you have like a million different needs, and like I feel like I kind of just decided to be okay with it. And I did that around like a number of things. Like, when I actually gave birth, plenty of people said she. I mean, probably anyone that I didn't know that came through that room, which there's a million like different nurses and care providers that might come through. Even though it was on my chart and my OB knew what was up and it was on like I had a door sign. I just was like, I can't care about this right now. Like
Yeah,
I'm
well,
like I'm trying to give birth. Like so I
yeah.
think like and like and it's not like people are coming through here with the intention to like hurt my feelings.
Hmm.
Um yeah, I
Yeah.
think like on some level I just had to accept it.
Yeah, there's a term that I've heard recently, that you were maintaining oh, now let me see if I can grab it, a generous assumption of where they were coming
Yeah.
from. Yeah. Rather than they're out trying to use a different pronoun, you had a generous assumption that they just weren't, you know, connecting in that way about it.
Yeah. And like, I don't know. I think another way to frame it is like, you can't let people like have that much power sometimes.
Yes. Oh, wow. Okay.
Like,
About
it's
claiming the
like,
power.
yeah,
Mhm.
like I'm here to like find my power to do something very hard, which is like walk in and get induced and give birth to twins. And like, I just don't have bandwidth to give you. Like,
Yeah. Well, especially giving birth to twins. I
yeah,
mean, that's like a whole conversation in its own right, because you gave birth to two
yeah, yeah, I did. Yeah,
and you didn't give birth surgically.
yeah.
That's pretty impressive. That's hard to do
It
in
was
its
hard.
own right.
Yeah, it was hard. Yeah,
It's hard to do.
yeah.
Yeah. So how did the experience of being pregnant and giving birth to your twins impact your relationship to your body and your identity? Because we spoke about that in uh, the pregnancy of your first, but then you went through your experience. And what happened for you through that and following that?
Yeah. I mean, I think like it was really like a gender journey because especially because of the twins, like I really wanted to read a lot of resources. Um, I remember like finding out it was twins and being like, oh my gosh, like just like the sort of health implications of all that. And then going and getting a book, and the book is like most women will want to do blah, and like other women will find that doesn't work for them. You know, it's literally like woman on every page.
Right.
Um, and I have never identified as a woman.
Hmm.
Like it was, and I remember being like, if there was ever a time for me to feel like a woman, this would be a convenient time. Um,
But
and
it didn't.
and yeah, and I was like I would be open to it. Like I was kind of like maybe being pregnant will make me feel more like a woman. Like I was just very like who knows? But that really didn't happen and I still felt like me, like a essentially very masculine person and a papa and I was like really deep in this like woman 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 just like world. Uh
On every page.
yeah. Um so like I think it was clarifying for me.
Mm.
Like it was like okay, like this is really real because like I I would love to be able to read this book and not feel excluded by like half the statements in it. Um, but I did. Like,
You did. Yeah.
yeah.
So
Like I would
the
be perfectly comfortable with someone being like, you have a female body. I was born with a female body. Like to me, the language of like the female sex, I don't feel excluded by. But
mm,
like in how I move through the world and just who I am, like I am not a woman. I don't know. Yeah.
yeah, and that's clear for you.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so when you're reading books about how quote unquote women do it or how this, and yet it's relating to what's going on for in your lived experience, then there wasn't a space for you to
Yeah.
be in that. Yeah.
Yeah, totally. I mean,
Yeah.
and like most of those books are heterosexist as well.
Right.
Be like, and women may want to ask their husbands to do blah. And I'm like,
And
I'm
you're like,
a
well,
woman and I
okay,
also don't have a husband.
right. Another check against this.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And so I would imagine that even when folks are that you're interacting with are helping to be inclusive and expansive and understanding, there's still so much in that world that was putting up roadblocks to you.
Yeah, I think a lot of the resources. I mean, like, yeah, I really do remember like reading. There's probably like two books that use inclusive language, and yours is one of them. And I think it was like the birth partner, like the most recent edition of the
The
birth
most
partner.
recent edition, yes. If
Yeah,
you get a used version, no. But yeah.
but I had those two, and it's like all I was wanting to do at that time was like sort of consume this like preparation kind of material, and I remember feeling like, oh, like being in your book and being in that birth partner book was like being in like a room where like the vacuum was turned off, like this kind of just like constant irritation of like you don't belong here is implied with all this language.
Mm.
And then all of a sudden it's like, no, this language implies that you belong here is like a night and day difference in my nervous system's ability to take in the information, like just like the work of like, no, I do belong here, and I'm gonna like mentally translate this statement to a different statement that includes me is like gone. And I can just like actually take in the content, which is like what I want to be doing.
Which was why you were in the books to begin with,
Yeah,
was for the content, not the extra step of translation.
right.
Yeah. Wow. What else supported you or helped you in your journey and your preparation? It sounds like you had a healthcare team, you had some resources. Um, how did you being pregnant impact your relationship and with your partner and all? Yeah, just what else helped you, and what was that journey like? Maybe they're separate questions, but
Yeah. Well, I had a partner who had given birth before, which I always say I highly recommend. If you you can give birth after your partner. Um, and have them completely understand what you're
like everything, right?
yeah, like
Like physically understand.
that's like truly a privilege. And I think like I really felt it like going into the actual birth itself and knowing that I have someone with me who's like done this before. Um and that I've gone through a birth as a birth partner and I've seen it.
Oh, interesting. You
So
you you benefited as well.
yeah, like I felt
Right.
like on both ends like having experience going in, I did feel was extremely helpful. Like we both just I think there's a big difference between theoretically knowing how much you don't know and how much you don't control and actually having experienced how much you don't control.
Absolutely. You were both initiated by the second time,
Yeah.
because you were initiated by the first birth, the birth of your first,
Yeah.
in
Yeah.
different ways, each of you, but definitely still initiated. And you were parents.
Yeah. Yeah, so I think I mean my wife was an incredible resource. She like took care of me the whole time. Um Yeah, she was amazing. I like my whole first trimester, I was like sleeping every day so much, so tired. And she was like doing our household and taking care of our oldest. And same thing at the end of my pregnancy when I was like too big to move. Um, and like I had an awesome friend group, queer friends and non-queer old time friends and family that were all like super supportive.
Hmm.
Um, So I really I did have like a really good village. Yeah, which was awesome.
That's great. And what was postpartum like? What was it like to have the period of time after you've given birth to these two babies and the healing process and feeding, and talk a little bit about the new parenting part of the time after.
Yeah. So the twins were born on February 26, 2020, which I
Oh,
just specifically say because
because it puts it
yeah.
in a whole frame of reference.
Yeah. So like a lot of the like NBA lockdown was March 13th, 2020, when they were
Yeah.
3 years old. 3 weeks old. 3 weeks old. So it's like our postpartum was like heavily shaped by that and by isolation.
Yeah.
Um, which was not what we wanted at all.
Mm-hmm.
But um, so I think like that was very hard. We had like a whole sort of like intention and plan to have like all the resources as possible and to have like friends coming through, and like we were like, let's spend our life savings on night doula support. Like, and we got to do that for 3 weeks, and then
Mm-hmm.
we did the rest on our own. Um, with my sister living with me, which was like why I'm a living person and not a dead person at this
Oh,
time.
okay. Well,
Yeah.
so there were three adults,
Yeah.
so at least you weren't outnumbered.
Yeah. So there were, yeah, my sister
Three
was living
adults
with
for
me.
three kids.
Yeah. And I was on leave and my wife was on leave and we had a 2 year old and two infants. I was breastfeeding. I had always had kind of like the mindset of like I want to try to. I'd seen Shannon do it and it looked nice. It looked like a nice connection. And I also was very aware like it can be very hard. And especially at the beginning, it can be very hard. So I had this like intention to just kind of give it like a few weeks
Mm-hmm.
and know that it's going to be hard, but I'm going to like not quit for at least a few weeks to just see. But then as those 3 weeks passed, there was a pandemic and the lockdown. And one of the things that probably people, unless they had an infant at that time, like it wasn't really that significant or didn't end up being that significant in the pandemic. But even at the very, very beginning of the lockdowns, there were these conversations about like formula shortage.
Yeah, I remember. Well, because
And
I'm in this field, so I remember this.
yeah,
Yeah.
it was like didn't end up being as serious then as it was later in the
Mhm.
pandemic. It actually ended up, I think it would have been fine if I would have needed formula, but I remember like feeling like, oh, like what if there's no formula? Like I really have to try to figure this out.
I bet that was a little bit scary.
Yeah.
Hmm.
And it is like not easy to breastfeed two babies. Can't even like really remember that time. But
Mm.
I had thrush. I got thrush,
Mm.
which was like just a whole other layer of like not fun. Um, but like I had a wife who breastfed before and knew how to like operate babies. I
Hmm.
knew how to
Right. So you
operate babies.
didn't have to, you weren't having to learn baby for the
Yeah.
first time.
I remember thinking like, oh, I don't know how people have twins as their first babies because that seems incredibly hard. Like at least I like know how to swaddle and like do diapers and I like believe that the baby's gonna live because
Right.
I remember like not believing that with my first. Um, so yeah, I it was like not without its struggles and I was doing like, like a breastfeed one baby and then like pump the bottle for the other baby for next time. It was like a triple feeding situation where
Mm.
like, but that only lasted, I think they were 6 weeks old once we figured out like how to do tandem breastfeeding. And that was also like very not easy at first. And I remember I would like get like crazy cramps in my wrists. But then I eventually did figure that out. And then like for the rest of the whole like first year of their lives and change. it was like tandem breastfeeding with on me with no pump, which like I don't think I would have lasted on a pump because I truly
Mhm.
hated it.
Yeah.
Um, and that was like really nice. In a way, that was like the little benefit of the pandemic, even though there were so many things that were hard and sad about it, and I do not wish it happened at all. But the
Right.
only like one of the silver linings was like I did that tandem breastfeeding at home with my twins for that whole year.
Mm. Wow. And you did it,
Yeah,
which which
it's a lot. It's a lot of
is
milk.
is a lot. That is a lot of
Yeah,
milk.
yeah.
That is a lot of milk. Wow. So, what was it like navigating the world as a pregnant papa and like with strangers and the external world? I'm remembering I think it was an Instagram post of yours around clothing and navigating the world of maternity clothes.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, I've probably like blocked all of that out to be honest. Like, but there's obviously nothing. You cannot search. Don't try to type into Google like men's pregnancy clothes. It's like not a thing.
that's not a thing. Okay.
I remember, yeah,
Yeah.
doesn't exist. No brand for that. Maybe now, but like, yeah. So that was hard. I remember being like grateful that I had like a tech job where sweatpants were like
Mm,
somewhat acceptable. Because I think at the end I was just in sweatpants and like a really big t-shirt. But even like with how big I got, I had to like keep getting bigger sweatpants.
yeah.
And like, yeah, like I feel like I could have probably had like a more comfortable experience if I was more okay with like some of the tops that exist.
Mm,
Because I remember struggling with like trying to wear a sports bra when I was pregnant and like having heartburn and it not exactly being like the best thing, but also like not wanting to wear a maternity top because like
right.
I just wouldn't. So yeah, the clothes part was definitely hard.
Yeah. Yeah. It's just one of the things that I remember from that time of knowing you and connecting with you. Were there other things that were either particularly challenging or particularly helpful that
The other things that I haven't mentioned is I did have an awesome postpartum doula who was like very inclusive. And I remember her like coming through and like waking me up and saying like Papa this something something
mm,
and me just like in that immediate postpartum like super sleepy like I have to wake up and breastfeed and just thinking like this person is an angel. Like I was just so glad to have someone in my home that like saw me and affirmed me when
mm,
I was so tired and stuff.
yeah.
So shout out to Michael. And then I also want to say that I had a very inclusive um pelvic floor PT, Dr. Grace.
Oh, yes. Dr.
Um,
Grace.
and Dr. Grace, I believe, uses they them. Dr. Grace is the best. Um, yeah, and also with Dr. Grace, like just feeling like I could really be seen and be me and just like
Mm.
I needed pelvic floor PT very much.
After carrying and birthing twins.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Shout out
Um,
to everyone listening. I love pelvic floor PTs. I think they're really important. Yeah.
yeah.
And we are lucky in Los Angeles to have some really inclusive practitioners, especially Grace.
Yeah, I feel honestly, I think if like I couldn't have found inclusive pelvic floor PT, I probably would have just like not dealt with my like recovery. And I
Mhm.
had like a really large abdominal separation.
Hmm.
Like I had some real kind of like functional issues um that I needed pelvic floor PT for. So it was like amazing to be able to go in and know that I was going to be like, treated well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So then now catch us up to today. What has transpired in your family building and in your personal life journey since giving birth to the twins and nursing them for an entire year during that first year of the pandemic? What's happened since then?
Yeah, so okay, in like the gender transition part of everything, like after going through all this and being like, I'm really like a papa, my kids like went to preschool, my oldest started going to preschool like in March 2021, and then I like had the younger ones in preschool like a year and a half after that. It's like I'm starting to like be in the world more.
Mhm.
And I just was like, I'm Papa. Like, it's like, I'm Papa at home. It's great. I was using he, him at home like pretty soon after the birth and also like liked that. So I don't know. It wasn't an easy, like for sure decision for me, but I ended up going on testosterone in September 2021, which was when my twins were basically a year and a half, and my
Mhm.
oldest was 3.5. Um, And then I also had top surgery in 2023. So that was about 2 years after that. Um, and yeah, I mean that's just it's a lot. I don't know if I would like recommend to other people that you become a new parent and then, have a sex change.
Yeah,
Um,
there's that sounds like a lot of transformation at the same time.
yeah. And like I think like I've had moments where I've felt like it was really, really hard and like wondered if there could have been some other way to do it.
Mhm.
I also feel like there were really reasons that it completely made sense. And like I was sort of losing my mind as the kids started going out into the world and they're like running up to me and saying Papa, and I'm like wondering, "Oh, when's the day when they're going to say like where's my dad?" And then like the care provider is like not going to know that I'm their dad.
Mm.
Um, or when's the day that they're gonna say like, that's my dad, and someone's gonna like look really confused or like, you know, even maybe like laugh or like I just like wanted what was true within our home to be true outside of our home and to have it be easy.
Mm.
Um, like that was really my real like why I went on testosterone. Like, um, which like I don't know. It's like not what you hear when you hear
Right.
stories of trans journeys. I don't think you usually hear about it as like this was about like my family and who I am to my children. But for me, like really, that was really the reason.
Yeah, it sounds like it wasn't just gender affirming care, it was gender and parental affirming movement in your life. Like it
Yeah,
was affirming your parental identity.
yeah,
Hmm.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Wow. So that's your journey. And then now you're expanding your family again.
Yes, yeah. Okay, yeah. And also that. So yeah, so my wife's pregnant right now. She's 35 weeks pregnant. So like this conversation is happening at a threshold. Um and we, so we always had this conversation around like we wanted to have 3 kids. And then when I had asked Shannon like I think I want to carry. It was very like explicit. Our conversation was like, okay, you do number two and I will do number three. And Shannon had always wanted to do another pregnancy.
Mm-hmm.
And so our twins are like completely spontaneous. Like there was no fertility treatment in our journey. So I think we were shocked.
Yeah.
And there's no twins like in my family or anything. We were completely shocked. And pretty immediately we were like, does this mean that we're done? And does this mean that like Shannon isn't going to carry another pregnancy? And I think Shannon and I both like from that moment were always interested in keeping the door open to another pregnancy. Um, yeah, and I think it'll be exciting if we're able to like have another conversation and have her like speak her whole side of it. But I mean, in a way, like when I meet people and they're like, "You're having four?" I'm like, "Well, there's a very specific story, and it has to do with two uteruses." And Shannon and I are both like believers in like we want to choose our ending.
Mm.
Like in some ways, like that is a big part of this.
Yeah.
Um, and and also that like Shannon liked being pregnant. She went through her first pregnancy all the while with the feeling that this is the first of several. And
Mm.
I'm sort of like preparing myself to walk this road again, even as I'm like walking it now. And then I think like we just both wanted to realize that. Like,
Mm.
and like once you have three kids, you're already outnumbered. You already have the minivan. So, um, yeah. But
Wow.
it is like, I'm very aware of how hard it is now. It feels very different than when even when we were having the twins, I had like a 1 year old. Now I'm like, oh, I know a lot. I know a lot.
Yeah,
I know what a commitment this is.
your innocence is busted.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
It is gone by
yeah,
the time you've got a 7-year-old and two 5-year-olds,
yeah,
and you know right now you're heading back into newborndom.
yeah,
You're right on the threshold
yeah.
again of
This
a
is like the
really
most
big moment.
relaxing moment I'm gonna probably have for a few months.
Yeah, for a few months, because you really are at 35 weeks. You're right on that precipice yet again.
Yeah,
And it's one of the reasons I'm grateful we were able to have this conversation now. And it's my hope to have you and Shannon back once the postpartum process is given some time,
yeah, yeah.
and we can kind of hear from both of you about the experience of both uh, carrying two of your children, which is a unique part all on its own.
Yeah.
So, as we start to wrap up, is there anything else you want to share with listeners, or do you have anywhere that people who want to learn more about you can connect with you?
Sure. Yeah. So I'll say like I am very much not a birth professional. I identify as an amateur birth junkie.
Which I
Um,
do love that idea. That's a good one. Yep.
um, I just like to hang out with birth professionals all the
We're
time.
a pretty fun group.
Yeah. But yeah, I have a little Substack if people want to read some of my writing. That's at herbiehuff.substack.com.
Great.
Um,
And I'll put it in the show notes as well. Yeah.
cool. Yeah, and other than that, I'm just like a regular dude
Yeah.
who gave birth and is a dude.
A regular dude who gave birth. I love that. And I'm so grateful that you came on and shared some of your story. And I feel really grateful that Michael recommended you. I think it was Michael, maybe Sarah too, who recommended you to me during your pregnancy,
Yeah,
and that we got to work together before all the stuff happened where we weren't able to work together in person for a number of years. We got to slide in and have some in-person
totally.
session together, which was really wonderful experience for me, and getting to know both you and Shannon on that process, as well as, in other ways since then. So thank you. So one of the things I love to do at the end of conversations is to ask an ending question. So are you ready for the final question?
I'm ready.
Okay. What's one thing you feel passionately about that you want new or expectant parents to see, hear, feel, or know during this profound period of their lives that they may not be thinking about or knowing?
Okay, the one I'm going to say is the one that I'm personally practicing right now, which is around memory consolidation. So,
Okay, say more about that, because what does that mean?
all it is like, you know how people say, like, it's the days are long, but the years are short. You feel this, like, that you're passing through all these, um, sort of like ways of living that you'll never exactly live again, and then you forget them, and you're like seeing your children in a version of themselves is so fleeting, but like so wonderful, and you sort of like wish you could like bottle it up and save it forever. Like what I'm trying to do like right now in my parenting, because I feel like every day is like such a crazy scrum, and I'm so tired at the end of every day, is like really just try to like in an embodied way remember things.
Mm,
Like we have so many technologies for memory, and I use those, but I really treasure like having memories like in me.
mm,
And so I'm just like trying to foster them. And one thing that like neuroscience says will help us foster them is to like have some time every day where I do nothing and my brain just kind of like, settles down. Like that's when, according to science, like our memories can form.
mm,
And I just like when I learned that, I realized like, oh, there are a lot of times of my life where I have not had that, where like instead of doing nothing, I was like just scrolling, or like trying to do something, like because like you're tired and your brain just wants to like find some stimulation. And now, um, it's like enjoy doing nothing if you can and try to focus on what you want to remember is what I
mm.
would like tell myself if I could go back to when I was getting ready to have my first kid, and my twins. Like I would say that. Like yeah, like a lot of things will slip away, but like just like put a little intention behind like letting something sink in every day, and you'll get to keep some stuff.
Oh, Herbie, that is woo, profound wisdom that I think I needed to hear myself today, because I am now in grandparent mode. My kids are out of the house. I'm in a whole different phase. And those transitions and turning of the memory wheel keeps going. And I do want to hold on to some of it. So thank you for that practice and reminder, and for being with us today. I'm so grateful.
Thank you
And
for having me, Britta.
oh, it's wonderful to have you. Thank you. And thank you, listeners, for sharing this time with us. If something we shared today impacted, supported, or moved you, please share this episode with a friend. I produce this podcast myself, and your support makes it possible. To show a little love for the podcast and these conversations, please follow, rate, and review. If you'd like to continue the conversation, please join us on Instagram at Transformed by Birth. I look forward to being with you again on the next episode of Transformed by Birth. Now, let's gather what we want to take away from this episode with an inhale, maybe taking a moment of that stillness and emptiness, like what Herbie just shared with us. Take it in with an inhale, and we'll blow out the candle with an exhale. Until next time, bye, friends.